Hello and thank you for joining me today for this video. My name is Daphna, I'm a professional makeup artist and hairstylist, and recently I started my own makeup line which is completely independent and it's of course cruelty-free and vegan. Today, as you might have guessed from my very pale and yellow complexion, I'm gonna be talking about blush. I obviously didn't put any on me yet, so we're gonna do that together. I'm gonna introduce you to my new product and also teach you how to use that product and also blush and highlighters in general, especially for pin-up and vintage inspired looks. When talking about vintage inspired makeup, especially when it comes to the 40s and 50s, they mainly used a matte blush, but because we do live in the present and there are some trends that influence us, and I personally feel like vintage can inspire us, but we don't have to follow very strict rules. And I love a matte blush, but I feel like adding some highlighter can really like make that makeup pop a bit more, and especially when you're doing like a pin-up look, I think adding some highlight to the cheek makes everything look way more like lively and cute and like more playful and more glowy. So that's why I'm gonna be showing you how to use a highlighter as well. So without further ado, here is the actual product. This is the Rose Glow palette. Here it is in the box, so you see it's like very shiny kind of gold, and it says Rose Glow. Like, I love this packaging, it feels like a very fancy vegan chocolate. Let's open it. So here is the palette. You can see it has this like very beautiful rose illustration on it in shiny gold as well, and it has some starbursts, which are my favorite kind of decoration. And here in the back it says Rose Glow. So let's open the palette. Yes, I'm very excited about this palette, as you can tell. So you have a mirror, and of course this palette is magnetic. Also, by the way, the pens are connected by a magnet. It has my logo here, some more starbursts, and it says Rose Glow, which are the names of the two pressed powders. Here you have the rose, which has like a rose engraved on it. Sorry if you don't see it in the video. And here you have the starburst pattern engraved on it. And as you can tell, the pen sizes are huge. Like, seriously, it's like 6 centimeters. It's very big compared to other products of this kind. I don't mean to be petty, but here you can see like a very standard shimmer by like a very popular brand that I'm not gonna mention by name, but you can see it's significantly smaller than these pens, so just so you have an idea of how big they are. And of course the formula is super saturated. As a professional makeup artist, I like very saturated products that can be a bit scary if you're using professional level products for the first time, but I promise it's worth it. You have to aim to have a product that is super saturated, and you can always dilute it by the way you use it, instead of just buying products that are, you know, don't have any pigment in them, and you have to kind of like pull out a lot of product in order to get any result. So these products are crazy saturated, and I'm gonna be teaching you how to actually use them so you don't end up looking like a clown, because it can happen if you're using professional level products for the first time. One of the first things they teach you in beauty school is to be very careful on how much product you pick up with your brush, and to always kind of like touch your hand or like just tap the brush in the air so you don't like get a lot of fallout or like just too much product on the face that all your time goes on blending it. So let's talk about the products themselves. So here we have the rose blush. The rose blush is a very bright and a bit dark kind of pink, and it has a very cold undertone, so it's almost on the like more on the purple side than on the like peachy side of pinks. It's a matte pressed powder, and as I mentioned, it's very pigmented. This blush was inspired by vintage makeup, where they used very bright and very saturated colors, like very bright pinks and red and even orange, but mainly pink because it's still blush. So that was the inspiration behind this blush. So if you prefer a more vintage accurate kind of look, you can use that. Personally, as I already mentioned, I do like a more glowy look most of the time, or at least when I'm doing a more pin-up kind of look. So I was kind of thinking if I should do a blush that is maybe shiny and has kind of the two products in one, but then I was like, Never mind, I'm a small independent brand. Let's just make a palette of two different options that you can like decide by your mood or by the use you need, or you can just like mix them or use just one of them. So I kind of like went overboard and made my first palette, which was not easy, but I think this is a very useful kind of palette in general. So that's why I decided to make this one completely matte. And let's talk about this one. This is the Glow, and it's okay, I was afraid I used the same finger. So this one is a very shiny pressed powder. This powder has a gold undertone and it has a bit of pink pigment in it, which basically makes the whole powder just be a bit more peach, I would describe, or maybe like rose gold. So it's a very warm kind of glow, but it's not yellow, it's just more like gold, champagne, pink, rose gold. I would kind of describe it in those kind of terms. It does have a bit of pigment, so if you're like my complexion, more like on the fair side of things, it will have a pigment on you, like it will look kind of peachy. And if you have a deeper or like medium skin tone, it will just be a highlight. I didn't want it to be too light, so this way it looks better on like way more diverse skin tones. So if you have a deeper skin tone, this will look amazing on you. Next, I just want to swatch this real fast, so I'm gonna take a bit more. So you can see the pink is like super cold toned and very saturated pink. I have too many tattoos to be doing swatches. I'll try to do it here. So you can see on my skin it looks a bit peachy, but if you have my skin tone it will look a bit peachy, and if you have a deeper skin tone you will mostly gain just the highlight without it being like too light on your skin. So there's another small surprise. These pressed powders actually have a smell. They smell like roses, which I think is like super fancy and very like vintage. Just reminds me of like a very glamorous vanity. Also, another big plus is you can actually use this as an eyeshadow. I filmed before starting a video of me doing the eyeshadow using this palette, so I'm gonna show you now how to do it. I'm starting out by applying matte eyeshadow base on my eyelids. This really helps set eye makeup in place. This one is by Kiko. It dries pretty fast, so you need to apply it fast and immediately blur it. I'm using a fluffy eyeshadow brush to apply the Glow pressed powder to my eyes, focusing mainly on the lid and a bit above it, gradually adding more product in tapping motions. Once I'm happy with that, I'll move on to create a tiny bit of depth using the rose blush on the crease or just a bit above it. I want it to be just a pink smoke and not be really too saturated with color, so I'm using the tiniest amount possible, tapping it off and just blending it just above the crease. Next, I'm cleaning the brush with a tissue and just using the clean brush to gently blend everything together. So this is how the eyeshadow looks once you add some eyeliner and some mascara and eyelashes. I used my own eyelashes. They're called Delight from the Poodle collection. You can find the link in the description of this video. Also, please note that I have like very dark, almost black eyes. So if you have some color in your eyes, like blue or green, or some kind of like more cold undertone to your eye color, this eyeshadow will really make your eyes like pop, because it's actually opposite colors, like pinks and peach and orange, you know, those kinds of colors are the opposite of blue and green. So if you have that eye color and you use this eyeshadow, please make sure to show me and tag me on Instagram so I can see. I think it will look really beautiful on those eye colors, and of course it looks beautiful on dark eyes as well. Okay, so let's actually get to the blush part. If you know any professional makeup artists, you know the tools are a huge part of the makeup application, and having the correct tool will make a huge difference. So of course I had to make a matching brush to go with this palette. This is the Cheeky brush. blush, as you can guess, because it goes on the cheek, and it's kind of cheeky because it's like small and very cute and a bit different in its shape than most blush brushes. It has a very beautiful pink wood base, a gold kind of feature here, and the hairs themselves are a bit pink, like very subtle kind of pink, and this one is already used, so you can see the tip is a bit more colored. And of course the hairs on this brush are synthetic and very high quality, so of course I am very obsessed with this brush. And also this is great for blush as well as the highlighter, so we're gonna use this brush for both. So I'm gonna tap very lightly. You can see how much product I actually picked up, like that's a crazy amount. So the most important thing is to actually tap and kind of take it out, like you don't need as much. And also this distributes the pigment throughout the brush, so I want it to be a very small amount. And I'm starting from like the apple of the cheek, like the highest and the most full part of the cheek, and I'm just very lightly kind of brushing it and spreading the product. Maybe I'm being a bit too careful because I really want to show you, you need to be careful with this product and with the amount of saturation in it, but it's always best to start off light and then add up. So like be careful like I am being right now. Also I think in the camera like this comes out a bit more subtle than what I'm seeing in the mirror, so I will go a bit extra so you can actually see. But look, this is just from like the first time I took the product, and you can see the more I'm doing, the more it builds up. So you don't actually need a lot of product, you just need to like patiently spread it. You can see there's already a lot more. Okay, let's take some more. Okay, this is like a crazy amount of product, like you don't need this much. So I'm just lightly tapping off some of the product. This way I can also see, you know, this is not just to take it out, but actually I'm like looking how much product I have, what's the amount of like saturation and the shade and everything, so I have more control. And again I'm starting, you can smile, you see I'm like smiling kind of weirdly. This is just to show you like the correct location is the apple of the cheek, and if you don't know where that is, like just do a fake smile. You see, and now I can really see like it's this area. There's different locations of blush you can use, and each location will like make the face look completely different. Like if you go a bit more high, it will make the face be a bit more high. If you use in the middle of the face, it will make the face look more like young and more like innocent looking. If you use it more low, it can kind of drag the face down. So the basic location I would recommend, if you're not sure what to do, is just do the apple of the cheek. But if you're feeling like you wanna kind of experiment, you can try to bring it higher. Like if you want a more like 30s inspired look, you can really like do this area with blush. Really feel free to experiment, but this is more like the classic location of blush. Okay, I'm gonna go a bit overboard just because like I see I have a lot of blush in the mirror, and I'm looking at like the monitor I have here of the camera, and it looks way more subtle, and I want you to actually see what I'm doing. So I lately kind of like doing like this kind of thing, like putting some blush on my nose, like just on the bridge and the sides of the nose. I feel like it makes everything looks a bit more fresh and more like young. I am 33 after all, and I'm not ageist in any way, but I feel like it helps me feel a bit more fresh. If you feel like you went overboard, like you can just blur it out a bit with your fingers, which I hope mine are clean because I did swatch the blush a bit. You don't have to do this part, I'm just like, because I'm filming, I just want to make sure nothing looks very like uneven or not blurred enough. Okay, I'm already feeling way better now that I have some blush on. And let's go on to the highlighter. So I have this like clean, not clean, but already used like this highlighter specifically on this brush, so let's just use this one. Here you don't really have to tap like the brush because a highlighter reacts kind of differently, but it's always good to check. So if you're not sure, like just do a little, maybe tap in the air or like a little touch on your hand. Okay, so here again we're gonna smile, do a big fake smile. I might have had already a bit of highlight in that brush, I'm sorry. I already have a tiny bit of shine here. Anyway, I'm just gonna smile and I'm gonna kind of add to the like fullest part of my cheek, and you can really already see the difference just from like one touch. But let's go crazy, just because this is a video and I want you to see what I'm doing. Let's do the other side. Sorry for the fake smiles, it's just like I'm really trying to like show you the cheeks. So you can see it added a shine and also it kind of warmed up the blush. So if you do like a warmer tone of blush and not very cold base, you can just add the highlighter, and because it's a bit peachy, it will kind of warm up the blush as well. So I think this is like a very nice duo together, but you can always use just one of these. If you only use this and you have kind of fair skin, it will actually be a blush because it does have some peach in it. And this one as well alone, it's beautiful just as a very vintage go-to blush. Very pink, very kind of more neutral because it's not too warm. So this is like a winning duo in my eyes. And now I just want to show you like a small highlight in the nose. So I'm grabbing a very small and a bit fluffy eyeshadow brush, and I'm just gonna collect a bit of the highlighter. I'm just gonna take some off, and I'm just gonna put it like on the highest point of the point of my nose. This can be like a different location for each person. This is what I find flattering for my very weird and specific nose. So I like to highlight just the tip of it. And I don't want to do too much because, as I mentioned, like there is some pigment to this when you have my complexion. But I think it adds like a tiny bit more cuteness to the nose as well. So that's it for the demonstration. I do feel way better now and less pale and like tired now that I have like a ton of blush on. So let's close this palette. Again, it's magnetic, so it's really high quality. And by the way, if you look from the side, you can see even if you have like long nails like me, it's very easy to open because it's not like the side is not flat. So it's good for like people with long nails as well. One last thing, to clean the brush, all you have to do is just wash it. I usually wash it with dish soap. I feel like it really takes out all the product out of makeup brushes. So just wash it in like warm water on your hand. Like you can put a tiny bit of dishwasher on your hand and just like wash it with water, and then rinse out the dish soap with the water and let it dry. It's really important to let a brush dry like on a table like this when there's actually like air around it, if you want the brush to have a long life. And also, like, you're not supposed to hold it up like this while it dries, because the water can go down into the areas where there's like wood and glue and all the things that hold this brush together. And if you just need to clean it between uses, you can just grab a wet wipe and clean it like this in circular motions and to all the directions that need to be cleaned. This one only has the highlighter, that's why there's like not a ton of pigment on it. And again, just leave it to dry like this, where there's some air circulation, so the hair can dry naturally. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I really hope you learned how to use blush in general and this product in particular, and that you like this product as much as I do. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Kisses!